Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Eagles Latest by Fan Arch. I'm your host, Blake McQueary, and as always, we have Eagles content to talk about. First up, we have Jaylen Carter, the probably news everybody has been waiting for this week. Jaylen Carter's fate has been decided by the NFL. They decided to only fine Carter a total of $57,222 exactly and a one-game suspension, which they are counting from his ejection against the Cowboys game since he did not play. So they are going to count that as his one-game suspension that is already served. And there are people that are not happy, mostly Chiefs fans. I mean, quite frankly, honestly, I wouldn't be happy either if the player who palmed my franchise quarterback's face in on the way to a dominating Super Bowl loss was able to play the week after spitting on someone. But honestly, quite frankly, I don't know what people wanted the NFL to do exactly. Why do I say that? Dak Prescott clearly spit first. Everybody has seen the replay of the whole incident. Dak literally clearly spit first. I said it in the game recap episode. I would have spit back. To be honest, I would have spit back. Somebody spits at you. I don't know what else you're gonna do. Now, on the other hand, would you have rather had Jaylen Carter go and punch Dak and knock him out? I mean, like, what would have been better than spitting? Like, I don't know what everybody wanted Jaylen Carter to do in that situation. I feel like everyone's acting like they wanted him to go punch him and knock him out. I don't understand what they wanted the NFL to do. Quite frankly, he got ejected from the game, got fined. I feel like that is enough. I think a lot of people wanted him suspended for this game. Obviously, Chiefs fans wanted him suspended for this game. They're talking about that they made up this whole new rule and everything like that. I don't understand where that's coming from. I honestly thought the ejection was fine, and I knew a fine was coming. I didn't feel like he needed any extra discipline there. I mean, you get thrown out for a game. The lesson has to be learned. You just don't spit on somebody. I don't think he's going to go and spit on somebody again, even if somebody spits at him. Like, that's just not going to happen. He got ejected. It's over. It's done. Now, one thing, Sirianni obviously has been asked about it all week. Nick Sirianni keeps basically saying that he is going to keep all the comments in-house. He is not going to answer anything related to that situation to the media. I don't know why people keep asking, honestly. He said it on Monday that everything was going to be in-house. So I don't understand why people even keep asking him about it. Jalen Hurts even had to comment on it today. He said he talked to Jaylen Carter. They, as a team, are past the situation as they should be. It is time to focus on the Chiefs. It is a new week. It's the Super Bowl rematch. Everybody's going to be watching this game. You just move on. He's playing. It's the end of the story. Now that he is playing, I have been saying this. Everyone knows this. He is arguably the key to this Eagles' entire defense. The result was clear against Dallas. He makes that defensive line much, much better. An elite defensive line helps out the secondary. I said that. Having him back is huge. Huge for the defense, huge for the Eagles. He is the sole difference maker for this defense. Now, don't sugarcoat my comment that it helps out the secondary. Yes, having Jaylen Carter on the defensive line, having him there, having him playing, does help out the secondary. Now, I don't want you guys to think that I am saying Jaylen Carter being back is not going to prevent Adoree Jackson getting turned inside out and twisted like a pretzel. Do not think that I'm saying stuff like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying he is a difference maker. It makes the defensive line better when you have a very, very good defensive line that helps out your secondary a lot. And I told you guys about the pass rush last episode, how it needs to be. It needs to be like the Super Bowl was. It needs to be very effective. It needs to be better than what it was against Dallas. What they did in the Super Bowl, 4-man rush, the rest in coverage, and do not blitz. Getting pressure on Mahomes, That makes him uncomfortable, and that causes for struggles in the pass game and getting the ball out. And all of that starts with Jaylen Carter being there. So that is what I mean by that statement. Obviously, Adoree Jackson, he has his own struggles. He needs to worry about his own food, things like that. We'll get into that a little bit later. But having Jaylen Carter back is huge for this defense and is solely, clearly a difference maker. And I think you should be able to see that on Sunday. Now, moving on to the other Jalen. Obviously, the face of the franchise, some might say, Jalen Hurts. I just want to talk about the dominance of Jalen Hurts because he deserves it. He deserves his praise after everything that was said about him for the past couple years, everything that was said about him after winning the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowl MVP this past summer, the disrespect that was thrown his way. He has to have his praise, and he deserves it. But it's also important to point this out heading into the Chiefs game. Jalen Hurts is going to have a clinic on Sunday. There's no doubt about it. Hurts is going to have a clinic. Listen, Hurts is that guy. We know that. Against the Chiefs, he specifically is that guy. Let me read you guys his stats against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. With Jalen Hurts at starting quarterback, the Eagles' average team points per game against the Chiefs, 31.5. The team's average yards per game, 320. Jalen Hurts' touchdown interception ratio, 11-2, and his passer rating average against the Chiefs, 100.2. That is clear dominance against somebody. I want my basketball fans to think about when LeBron James goes and plays the Toronto Raptors. That is Jalen Hurts against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's Jalen Hurts. I want you to think about that analogy. That is Jalen Hurts when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I don't know exactly what it is, but against the Spagnuolo defense, he makes people hurt. You get what I just said there? You get that? You get that? Okay, there we go. I think about the 2021 game a lot when I think about Jalen Hurts and playing against the Chiefs. And in that game, he was a young and inexperienced Jalen Hurts. In that 2021 game, Jalen's career high in passing yards was set. He threw for 387 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was when he was rocking number 2 also, by the way. Now, Mahomes and the Chiefs, they were too much. Obviously, they won that game. But Hurts was the sole reason the Eagles had a shot in that game. He was the leading rusher, with another 47 yards, giving him a total of 434 yards. And he also had 2 other touchdowns that were called back by a penalty. Now, there are Chiefs fans calling, for some reason, they clearly don't know ball. They're calling to blitz the hell out of Hurts. Why? Did you watch the Super Bowl, Chiefs fans? Did you not watch the Super Bowl? I'm confused here. If you're going to blitz Hurts, it's going to be another 40-6 blowout win for the Eagles. It absolutely will be. There's no doubt about it. Hurts has way too much of an advantage. He is like a point guard who can go and give you 10, 15 assists, but he can also make you pay and ISO the hell out of you and score 40 points. That is Jalen Hurts as quarterback. Giving a basketball analogy, that is Jalen Hurts. He is like a point guard who can go dish the ball, give 10, 15 assists, but he can also give you 40 when he wants to, when he needs to. Now, what that translates over to football, that means he has the weapons to throw for 200 plus through the air, or he'll make you pay at the line of scrimmage and do it himself with his legs. Seen that last week. Dallas was running a 2-man high shell. Passing game wasn't there. He had to do things with his legs, and he did it very well. He is a stone-cold killer. Jalen Hurts is a stone-cold killer. He creates opportunities for this offense when the ball isn't in Saquon Barkley's hands. Think about that. When the ball isn't in Saquon Barkley's hands, Jalen Hurts creates those opportunities for this offense. Saquon Barkley, by the way. So that's a whole nother issue. A whole nother issue. Jalen Hurts. I just want to let's just give his credit where his credit is due last week, because my gosh, and I think this is just foreshadowing for what is to come this year in terms of Jalen Hurts. I've talked about it a lot. I talked about it before the season started. Jalen Hurts is my MVP. But last week, led the NFL in completion percentage, 82.6%, and completion percentage above expected, plus 15.2%. If you don't know what completion percentage above expected is, basically what that is measuring is your completion percentage above what is actually expected. So it's basically a completion percentage that analyzes when you're expected to make a pass and not expected to make a pass. He led the NFL in that last week, in week 1. He also recorded his 6th career game with multiple rushing touchdowns and at least one completion of 50-plus yards, which is tied with Josh Allen for the most in the league since 2020. That is a league MVP, by the way, Josh Allen, if you don't know. On third downs, Hurts connected on 6 of 6 attempts for 78 yards and a 118.8 passer rating. That was 5th in the NFL in week 1, and he rushed for 32 yards and 1 touchdown. More than half of his total yards were on third down, 51.4%. I talked about it in the recap episode. I talked about it the episode after that. A little bit about Jalen Hurts on third down. One that stuck out to me the most was that 3rd and 3 with the game on the line, a little over a minute left. He goes empty set, spaces out the linebackers, drops back really quick, and takes off for a first down. That was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. That's that stone cold killer mentality that I'm talking about with Jalen Hurts. That was on display fully right there. Was tremendous. He was perfect on third down. He was perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, that's just a little bit of Jalen Hurts for you. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles have a chance on Sunday to become just the second team and quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes 3 straight times. Hurts is first in QB winning percentage since 2022 with a .792. That is a total record of 38-10. Mahomes is second with a .780. His record 39-11. This is turning into one of the best rivalries in sports. Absolutely in football. One of the best rivalries in sports, 100%. Moving on to the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, Kevin Patullo. Patullo, he gave his thoughts on the offense. I think that was on Tuesday. He said something, it bothered me a little bit. Should probably bother some people as well, especially after the game he called against Dallas. Patullo said that he didn't think the offense ran into heavy boxes too much. He added that it might have looked that way at times. Sometimes it was because we, quote, didn't block it properly. Now, the Eagles' offense loves formations with reduced wide receiver splits. Those create heavy boxes and strong safety and slot cornerback blitzes versus runs and passes. We've seen that not too much in terms of the cornerback blitzes, the strong safety blitzes. We've seen it a few times against Dallas, not too many though. They were, like I said, in a 2-man high shell most game. It was zone coverage, things like that, whatever. Now, one thing that came out today, actually, in an interview, A.J. Brown, he said he cleared the air on his injury. People speculating his injury, if it was still a factor against Dallas. He said he was not hurt. Him getting a lack of targets, a lack of catches, he was not out there being a decoy. The hamstring is not affecting him still. It was just the way Dallas was playing him. They were in a heavy zone all game, no man coverage. That is hard to get separation against. It is. But still, Kevin Patullo saying this, I don't fully like it. It's kind of him throwing guys under the bus. I understand the Eagles do not have the best blocking tight end room with Dallas Goedert, Caltrera. It's not the best tight end room when it comes to blocking. They are not blocking tight ends. But at the end of the day, you need to resolve that as the OC. You need to get your guys involved. He needs to be better in week 2 against the Chiefs. Now, I don't think the Chiefs are going to go a heavy zone most game. I don't. Do I think they're going to run man? Maybe sometimes, maybe not. You think about what they did in the Super Bowl and why the passing game was open so much. It was because they were running heavy boxes, stacking the box, because they were focused on Saquon Barkley way too much. I think they learned from that. Obviously, clearly, a 40-6 blowout. You better learn from that. But do I think they will go that route? Probably not. Will the passing game be better this week? It should be. It better be. I talked about it 2 episodes ago that it needs to be better. Kevin Patullo needs to get his guys involved. You need to create schemes to where you can negate that. You need to have plays in your arsenal where you can get around that and you can get your guys involved. It's that simple. I even said it. Running quick screen passes, RPO slant routes, one-on-one out routes. That's how you do it. I know one thing for certain. Devontae Smith is not going to have a bad game. I talked about A.J. Brown a few episodes ago, so I'm not going to do it again. Go check that out if you want to see what I think is going to be his production this week against the Chiefs. Devontae Smith has a history of huge games versus the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be another week of that, whether they're playing heavy zone coverage or not. He has fared well against the Chiefs in his career. 2021, 7 catches for 122 yards. 2022 Super Bowl, 7 catches for 100 yards. 2023, 6 catches for 99 yards. And 2024 Super Bowl, last year's Super Bowl, 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Go and utilize that. Take that to your advantage. And get your guys involved, Kevin Patullo. Don't throw your guys under the bus. It's that simple. Moving on to the Chiefs and their weaknesses from week 1. I'm going to point out just a few weaknesses that I seen against the Chargers in Brazil that kind of carries over that Philly needs to take advantage of. First, depth. Depth is an issue for them. Outside of their star guys, that's really all they are. It's really all they are. They don't have any rotational pieces on the roster. They have no rotational position groups on the roster. It's really their star guys, and that's it. Another weakness, their wide receivers. Very good for Philly, especially Adoree Jackson. Adoree, if you get burnt by Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm sorry, but no, it's not good. They also, no Xavier Worthy is huge. Now, I'm hearing the Chiefs are possibly thinking about putting him in a brace and playing him. That is the dumbest decision that they could do. That is stupid. He literally dislocated his shoulder last weekend. I think it should be a certainty that he's not playing. If they do decide to do that, Philly has Sidney Brown. Like, if they want to go and play Worthy, go ahead. One hit stick from him, it is over. It's wraps. It is wraps. It's wraps. Another weakness, offensive line. Their O-line is, I'm not going to say their O-line is terrible. It's not the worst in the league, but it's not good. It's not good. It was an issue for them last year. It's again an issue for them this year. The Chargers got after them last week. Mahomes running for his life. Josh Simmons on their offensive line gave up 5 pressures. He was flagged twice and was the lowest rated Chiefs offensive player per PFF. Kingsley Suamataia, he gave up 3 pressures and had a 60.8 pass blocking grade and a 44.3 run blocking grade. Juwan Taylor, a guy who struggled for them a lot last year, created a lot of penalties for their offense, gave up 2 pressures. He was flagged 4 times, so he obviously didn't learn much from last year and was the second worst graded offensive player. Their run game also looked terrible, mostly because of their offensive line. That is huge news for the Eagles and the defensive front. I have said it a little bit this episode. I focused on it last episode. The pass rush needs to be effective. The defensive line needs to be effective. They need to have a huge game. 4-man rush. Everyone in coverage, don't blitz. It's that simple. And then the other weakness kind of goes hand in hand with their depth. 5 great players. The rest, meh. Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Trent McDuffie, Nick Bolton. Those are their guys. Other than that, depth isn't there. So you're Philly, you take advantage of those things, and you go start the year off 2-0, win your Super Bowl, rematch, things like that. So that's that. That is all we have for this episode. As always, stay up to date with Eagles' latest on Fan Arch. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.